With all that is happening in Nigeria today, this is the first time in history where leaders of the Christian faith from northern Nigeria will collectively talk on the unfolding events. The religious segment is up next with the discussion on our contribution to nation building and the burden of insecurity.
In Greece as a result of various spiritual forces right from creation. But in recent times, these occurrences have become man-imposed against the church and seem lengthened, especially with the attitude of unwillingness to put such to rest by the authorities. What can we do to render help to a disintegrating world as a religious body? Thank you very much and welcome to the religious segment on the Hope for Nigeria show on Equa Television Africa. Today I have great men with me that would join me in doing justice to the topic that we have, the burden of insecurity and the contribution of the church to nation building. In the studio with me this morning, I have Reverend Dr. Stephen Baba Panya, who is the Equa president. You are welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Tony.
Yeah.
Glad to be here.
Yeah. And I have the very Reverend David Denji, the ERCC president. You are welcome, sir.
Good morning, Nigeria.
Yeah. And I have the EYN president, ably represented by the General Secretary of EYN, Reverend Dr. Daniel YC Imbaya. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you, Tony, and good morning, Nigeria.
Yeah. And I have also in the studio Reverend Stephen Sunday Ajishe, the Vice President of Equa International. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you, my brother. Good morning to you and good morning to Nigeria.
Yeah. Right next to him by his left is our amiable General Secretary of Equa, Reverend Yunusa Sabo Madu Jr. You're welcome on the show, sir.
Thank you for having me here. Good morning, everyone.
Yeah, and we have the cool and calm Assistant General Secretary of Equa, acting Reverend Samuel Atu. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you, Tony, for welcoming me so well.
You're welcome, sir.
Everybody, happy independence.
Thank you so much, sir. All the way from the liberal state, we have Reverend John Joseph Hayab, the Khan chairman of the Kaduna State chapter of Khan. Actually, you're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much for having me here, and I salute Nigerians as we celebrate our 61st independence.
Yeah, you're welcome on the show. All right, I would like to fire on as quickly as I can, and I would like to start with the Equa president. I want to know, sir, how is your church, Equa, suffering from the burden of insecurity in Nigeria, the issues of banditry, the issues of kidnapping, terrorism, and all sorts? How is Equa suffering that in Nigeria?
Well, one single word summarizes it all, and that is terribly. Equa Church is suffering terribly because of the insecurity, the attacks on our members and churches. The most recent ones that are still very fresh in mind the attacks that took place sometimes back in the Zonzon DCC, which is in southern Kaduna, and one of our pastors and a former church leader was killed. And the following day, which was, I think, Sunday evening, about 11 of our members were massacred in cold blood. Not only so, a few days after, we had report that our church in Kaba was attacked during worship services by gunmen. One person was killed right there, and about 2 to 3 people were kidnapped and whisked away. not long after that again, we had reports of I'm talking about just a few days in Kagoro. This is again in southern Kaduna. A village, 2 villages, I think, were attacked. About 5 of our members were among the over 46 people that were killed. I understand the toll has since reached 51 now. This is not to talk more about the Miango Erigwe massacre that took place of about, that was sometimes in August, 17 villages with over 70 people killed, most of which were ECWA members. So ECWA is really under siege. It has come under very, very fierce attacks by the enemies of the cross.
Okay. I would like to ask the very reverend, is it the same with the ERCC, or you have been exempted in the attacks?
Not at all. I think mine, I will use the word unfortunate. Very unfortunate that we live in a country where our people are not safe. There is no freedom of religious practice. The government looks at the issue with kid gloves, and people are just allowed to be killed and massacred like that. In Nasarawa State and Benue State, where our church has its own dominance, the borders between Benue and Nasarawa State, the issue of the herdsmen and the thief communities, it's unfortunate because you wonder why these things continue and the government does virtually nothing. The government is just mute. And so for me, we are not exempted, but the situation is rather unfortunate, very unfortunate.
Well, needless to say, the EYN, I think you are the epitome of this suffering, because most of this mayhem that Nigeria woke up to started from your region where your church is really domiciled. So what can you say from adding to what the ECWA president and the ERCC president have said?
I think generally the church in Nigeria, and more especially in the northern part of this country, over these years, over a decade now, has been in a state of really siege. And EYN, which is generally known as Church of the Brethren in Nigeria, had been at the epicenter of violence for over a decade now. And we had been a church that had suffered in these activities of the insurgents, precisely the Boko Haram, for over a decade now. And there was a time that over 70% of EYN was lost to the insurgency, over 70%. So at a certain time, we were left with only about 30% of the church surviving, because we at that time had 50 district church councils, and out of which only 7 were not directly affected by the activities of the Boko Haram. We had on record over 9,000 members that we have lost so far, and we had over 20 pastors that have been killed in the activities of the Boko Haram. So even at this time that I'm speaking to you, the most unfortunate part of it is that the media has been strangulated. That most of the attacks that are happening on a daily basis now is not reported, neither in the conventional media, not even in the social media, unfortunately. So there are continuous attacks on a daily basis on our churches, on our members. Members are still abducted and being kidnapped and killed. So the issue is really so sad, and the issue is so pathetic. And the most unfortunate thing is that we will only hear that the government will say we are on top of the situation. I don't think the government has even been under the situation, not to talk of on top of the situation. So sad on that.
This has called for really sober reflection, like the ECWA president would always say, that this will call for sober reflection and the need for prayer. Now, we are grateful to God for ECWA Television Africa. I think this is the first time in the history of this country that religious leaders have been gathered to discuss the plight of the church, because the North has been a victim of this attack more than anywhere in the history of this country. And I would like to ask the Vice President of ECWA this question. Where are we concentrating our dismay? Is it from the decision we made from the polls voting these people in, or it is the system? Where should we concentrate our dismay?
Thank you, Mr. Tony.
Yes, sir.
The decision made at the poll, it is only God that knows the future of individual or of the nation. We may say that probably Nigeria we made a wrong decision, but at the same time, I want to believe that there is nothing impossible for God to handle. But to me, our government, they still need to do a lot in order to cope that situation. Recently, we heard of government arrested some of the sponsors of bandits, and they were probably kept in their custody, unknown to anybody in the nation. We so appreciate the effort probably the government is making. At the same time, we heard that probably some of them are being released, unknown to the entire people in the nation. I want to believe with the way the government is handling the issue, is as if they are interested in what is happening in Nigeria. And people of God will continue to pray, and we believe there is time for everything. There is time for everything. Sooner or later, if this government continue this way, there is time for everything. And we believe people that will be faithful, that will be committed to people of this country, will surely one day take over, and by special grace of God, things will be changed positively. Then we will be able to judge this present administration and whichever that will come after them.
I like the how we are channeling our concerns towards the government largely. I will still ask the General Secretary of ECWA, please, where should we channel our dismay? The decisions we made to elect these people, or the system of Nigeria?
Well, I think that the question is even wrongly put. Because if you said that we made a decision to elect these people, my question is, when did we make the decision to elect them? If you follow our electoral system, if we have any, you will discover that our electoral system is not working at all. And so these are people who are self-appointed. Our votes do not count in this country. So when you say it is the decision that Nigerians made, I would say no, Nigerians didn't make this decision. Perhaps in the first time when this government came into power, yes, the generality of Nigerians made a decision because they wanted a change. So at that time, even if it was a stone that you put to contest against that other government, the stone would have won. And everyone felt that this President Buhari was the Messiah God sent. The church, the mosque, perhaps even the shrine. We all thought that he was our Messiah. But having spent 4 years and haven't seen the level of nepotism and misrule by the president himself, the nonchalant attitude, the absenteeism of the president himself, I'm sure that Nigerians didn't elect him this time around. But like we do know, our electoral system is not working. So the power of incumbency, like they say, and people who are in power never get out of power except if by the constitution. So these people made themselves leaders. And so our anger is not on the decision we made, but our anger is on the fact that the people self-appointed themselves to do the work they said they will do, but they have refused to do it. So for me, our anger is channeled towards the duty bearers who have refused to bear the duty, and that's the government.
I would like to ask Reverend Atu the same question. Are you of the same opinion as the General Secretary?
Very well, Tony. I'm of the same opinion. And if there is any area that I would like the church also direct anger, is the mass media. Because the mass media, instead of organizing parties like this to bring our politicians to tell us what they intend to do if they win election, that's during their campaigns, and how they'll go about doing it. I remember when Buhari was campaigning in 2015, we were tired of insecurity. And that's why the General Secretary said, even if a stone had come, we would have won election. Because the primary problem of Nigeria was insecurity. Then Boko Haram was about 6 years old. And this government, while campaigning to Nigerians, promised that insecurity is top uppermost in the agenda. And being a former military man, Nigerians did not care about his track record of performance as a politician or as a leader, but they cared about his track record as a military man. Nigerians did not care much about his track records of academics, even when issues of certificates were coming in. But our issue was that if it is insecurity, let anybody without certification come and deal with the problem. Here was a person that we thought that he can step on toes to do the right thing. Here was a person that we thought he is 100% also transparent. But having come into office, we're seeing different things. Now, if we had called the politicians at that time in mass media parties like this to debate, to tell us what you want to do and how to go about it, they will know, okay, this person has a good agenda, but he doesn't have the capacity to implement what he has said, so he cannot give us any accountability. If we have leaders that have the capacity to make promises, have the capacity to execute what they have promised, then they have the capacity to give account. In this kind of situation, you can expect that results can come. But we vote in change without knowing very well that these people have the capacity to implement the change in which they promise that they will change. And therefore, before you know it, some people are starting to say, okay, let's change the change. Again, we're not asking them. Nigerians don't even know whether the people say, okay, change the change, have the capacity to change the change, or have the capacity to implement that which changes the change. So for me, I wish other media houses like Equa TV Africa will do by calling on people, stakeholders to talk about these issues, to challenge our politicians. It's good that they come out to campaign. Even right now, we'll start seeing posters for 2023. But nobody is organizing parties like this to bring them to come and talk to Nigerians. And let us be convinced, let us see some track records of their capacity to implement what they promise. Thank you.
Reverend Ahayab, I would like to ask you this question. I'll put two questions to you, but I would just want you to, in just 2 minutes, answer them if possible. You are from the Baptists, and I understand that clearly. How have you suffered these attacks as a denomination? And then how did we find ourselves here? Who is to take the blame?
Thank you very much. As a Baptist church, especially in Kaduna State, I can say that we are the most badly affected with the killings, the kidnapping. Because as I speak to you, we run a system where we have an association. Association is coming together of 10 to 15 churches to form an association, which in Ekwa you call the LCC. Over 5 associations today, there are no churches, no pastors, because pastors have run away. As at April, about 156 of those who died between January and April were Baptist members. And about 30 communities that have been sacked completely are communities that the strong churches in those communities within Igabi, Brimungwali, and Chikun local government are of the Baptist church. It was in the Baptist church on the 25th of April that a medical doctor was shot down, killed in church. His daughter and others were kidnapped. And it's been the fact that the business of our church now is just how do we raise money to rescue and bring back our people who have been kidnapped. Then the second cap I wore is Kaduna State. So within the challenge I have as a Baptist pastor, and many of the Baptist pastors churches being affected, then I have the challenge as the chairman of CAN in Kaduna State, where Kaduna, you don't even have a particular area now that is safe. Giwa, though it's in the central, but actually located in the north, is not safe. Igabi, Brimungwali, Chikun, all these areas are not safe. Then you come to southern Kaduna, that is much more closer to Jos here. Yesterday on my way here, I have to stop to do a mass burial of 38 people, which part of what the Ekwa president said, because 33 of those that we buried yesterday were Catholic, and 5 of them are Ekwa. But I must commend the church. Impressed me yesterday that we had a joint service for them, because they are dead. We don't talk about which generation they come from, but and not that 38 were killed, 51 were killed, but others, probably members of their family, horribly buried them. But the senator and the bishop of the Catholic Church in Kafanchan felt, wait a minute, we've always been doing this mistake. They will kill our people and we just only bury them. Let us bring the corpse. Let people see and know that what we are saying is not an exaggeration. It's reality. So yesterday, the fact that when they arrived with the corpse, because they came late, it took them a long time to prepare the corpse into the casket and brought them. Someone was suggesting that it's already late. Can we just leave the casket in the vehicle and say the prayers and go? I said no. I want every casket down. We want people to count them. And if everybody doubted, they should open and even see it. Let people know what the church in Nigeria, what the church in northern Nigeria specifically, and in Kaduna State is going through. The fact that we've just been burying every day. We buried today. Okay, he just talked about that of Zengokara. After that burial, now we are back to Kagoro DCC. And we continue this burial every day. No weekend that a particular one community or the other is not attacked. So is that our life? How can such people ever plan? How can such people even execute something? So when you talk about blame, the truth is that I've listened to what other speakers said. I want to say we should blame. Yes, we're blaming government. Government is number one to blame, because constitutionally she has the responsibility of protecting lives and properties. But I am beginning to blame us, because we've talked too much about this evil. And if time permits me in this conversation, I'm going to talk about what the church should be doing than every day just issuing statements. The people don't longer read the statements.
All right. The conversation is heating up, and we are going to be in this room all the way to 1 p.m. The phone lines will be open at 12:30 so that we can start taking calls. If you have a valid contribution, please call. If you are just enjoying the show, don't call us to tell us you are enjoying what we are doing. Just like it and comment on social media. But if you have a valid point to contribute, please call us when the phone lines are open. I'll take a very quick break and I'll be right back. Thank you very much for staying right there waiting for us on the short break we took. And I still have the ECWA president here, the ERCC president, the EYN president is here ably represented. I have the rest of the ECWA executive, with the absence of course of our ECWA international treasurer who couldn't be here, and I have Reverend Joseph Hayab, who is here with us as well. And I'm happy, before we took the break, we all put the concern, especially what the last speaker said, that statements that we are issuing are no longer valid. People don't even read them. And that should take me to my next point, which I would start with the ECWA president again. We have people, the government has power, but power is nothing without the people. Now I want to ask ECWA president, how many members approximately do we have in ECWA?
Well, our best estimate as the moment is over 10 million.
Over 10 million.
ECWA
ERCC?
members.
3 million. And EYN?
1.5.
1.5. And Baptist?
Yeah, the Baptist should be above 10 million.
Above 10 million. Yeah. So we are talking almost 50 million people with the friends of our ministry and all of that. How can we translate these 50 million people into a better Nigeria, ECWA president?
Well, I want first and foremost to do a rider on what the ECWA GS said, and to say, truly speaking, if the system had integrity, I believe that the results of the last election would have been different from what it turned out to be. We have an integrity system with the present electoral system, and not just the system, even the electoral body. Because I remember there were so many arguments about the appointability of some of the electoral officers, that some of the appointments that were made to the electoral body. But we have a government that does not listen and seems to be able to even override the National Assembly. Sorry to say that the National Assembly, as regards many matters that is supposed to be a check really on the executive arm, has not been living up to its responsibility as it should. Be that as it may, you have said truly, and it's true, that the church force here is very, very powerful. And if and I pray that as we look forward to 2023, many more pastors, church leaders will truly mobilize their members, much as we may not have too much hope in the system or the electoral body, those that are running the electoral body itself. I believe in the saying by lawyers that he who goes to equity must go with clean hands. If we are going to tell the church to pray that God should intervene in our nation, God expects us in the first place to have done our best in terms of discharging our electoral responsibility. So first thing first, we must mobilize our members to join politics at all levels and in all facets. They need to be actively involved with party politics. They need to stand for elections for different offices. And then we need to mobilize others that may not be involved in partisan politics to make sure that they register to vote, so that after we've really done our very best, even if the system tries to still truncate the will of the people, then when we tell our members to pray and we ourselves take up the matter with God in prayer, the Lord will hear us, he will answer us, and he will act to overrule and to redress the system and whatsoever is the outcome of any flawed election in this country.
ERCC, how do we translate all of these numbers we have into a better Nigeria?
Well, I'll start by speaking from two praxis. One, as a Nigerian, and secondly, as a Christian. As a Nigerian, we have a very unfortunate situation. The killings, with the records we've just received, is very unfortunate in this country that it has gone so bad that it's no longer absolutely a religious thing. But we have some group of irresponsible human beings. Like in the far north, Zamfara and other states of the nation, you discover that most of the people that were killed and massacred, necessarily they were not Christians. We have both Christians and Muslims. And putting this into perspective, it tells you that one wonders whether we're talking about a government that is anti-Christian or we're talking about a government that is anti-people. To my mind, our government is anti-people. Then we bear the crunch of the pains as Christians. But then the government, the way we're going in this nation, the government is just absolutely anti-people. That is the praxis. And then our praxis as believers and Christians, all the records we have received, and is very sad. But let me start. How do we translate our population and whatever into? One, are we really Christians? Or we are denominational Christians or tribal Christians? When Christians, let's say we're talking about 50 million people who are believers.
From the north alone.
From the north alone. You discover that out of these 50 million, you have Birom Christians. You have Tarok Christians. You have the Mada Christians. We are struggling with that even in the church. So for us to be able to unite into a formidable force, we must first and foremost deal with that. You look at a Christian residing here on the plateau and you call him a Yoruba man. He's not an indigene. He's not a citizen. We all went through seminaries. And for our brothers, the Muslim, they have the concept of al-Umma. It doesn't matter where you come from. The moment you say the Shahada, you are an al-Umma. From Zamfara, you come here to Jos and you stay happily. The theology and the concept of al-Umma has made them so formidable and one at our own expense. So for us to translate our numbers into something, we must first be a Christian al-Umma. Bringing ourselves together, looking at ourselves as body of Christ. And whatever happens to my brother in the Baptist church happens to me. And I want to commend the Ekwa denomination for this meeting, at least this meeting. Not minding that the television is Ekwa, but it's now being used to bring the body of Christ together. I must commend Ekwa for this. This singular act, I must commend Ekwa. And if all other denominations will begin to put behind us all these things, and we look at ourselves, we have a common problem, suffering a common fate, suffering the same thing, whether you are EYN, whether you are ERCC, whether you are Kokin, whether you are Baptist, whether you are Catholic, whether you are an Anglican, the Christian community is suffering the same fate. And until we look at it that way, we cannot fight right. So we must first and foremost look at the praxis upon which we stand. What is common about our situation and how we've been maltreated in the country. Let me give you an example in the state where I come from. Until recently, you have a situation where you have your children who have gone to school, read very important courses, but they end up being teachers in private schools. Of no fault of theirs, just because they are Christians. So, for me, how we can translate our number into something is first to look inward. And let us be a force. Let me tell you, you'll be surprised that if you have like 50 million Christians in the north, it's not, I'm sorry, maybe not up to 20 million are feeling what we're discussing in this studio. So we must first and foremost go back. And for me, we have a power. We have the pulpit. People meet after every 7 days to listen to us. So we must start uniting the church and sharing in whatever is happening, whether in Kaduna, in Nasarawa, in Plateau,
wherever it is.
Yes.
So EYN, let me come to you now. How do we translate? I'm still on the same question of how do we translate this massive number into a better Nigeria?
I think riding on what the president of ECWA as well as the president of ERCC have said, for the Church of the Brethren, that's the EYN, initially we had indeed a doctrinal problem when it comes to politics. Politics is always regarded as a dirty game. And at the beginning of the Church of the Brethren, when the missionaries from the United States brought Church of the Brethren in Nigeria, was this, that anyone that joins politics, he is not a Christian enough. He is worldly. So, and I think the first thing we have to do as Christians is to begin to challenge that, to begin to correct the doctrinal ills that has been right embedded in us. So the first thing is to teach our people that we are political beings as human beings. And it's not wrong, it's not sinful. And even if politics is a dirty game, being lights and salt of the world, we should go in there and clean it. So first thing for us to succeed in translating our population into something that will bring about change in this nation is to begin to reorient our members and give them the right perspective and right understanding of the scriptural basis. That even in our homes, we do politics. So politics is not a dirty game. We have to go in there to change. So this teaching has to be done first. And then two, we have to then, because I remembered my father is a retired priest in UIN, and at that time and we have to get in there to do good politics and allow politics to be done by the evil people, and those wicked people will take decision about you and including why you worship. Then there is no hope. So I think the pastors needed to be retrained, given another orientation. Our members needed to be given another orientation to understand that this is the right way to go. There is nothing sinful about this. It's indeed practicing our Christianity in a way that will make changes to make us relevant. So when we do that, and then next is indeed by doing that, we then encourage our members, as the ECO president said, to register as card-carrying members in political parties, but also to have voters registration cards, and then not only having the cards, but to go in and cast votes. One thing I have discovered as a pastor over the years is this, that many of our members get registered, but they don't go to vote. And sometimes we have to, I think, take responsibility as leaders to challenge our members that when it comes to politics, we are not people that want to endure. They go into the queue, the Scutchinson is there, they stayed for a little while and they said, no, what are we waiting for? After all, our vote will not count and they will decide to leave. If we don't change that, to ensure that when you have the cards, you go in there to stay in the queue and ensure that you cast your vote. And of course, what will stop you from being there until your vote is counted also? That is also important.
I want to direct this to the General Secretary of ECWA. What is wrong if we provide or we produce a candidate as a united denomination? What is wrong with that?
Well, that's like putting me on the spot.
Actually, that's the idea.
Actually, just to add to what our leaders have just said, we are supposed, the summary of what I hear the three speakers say is that the church is a change agent, but we have not lived up to expectation. So we haven't really affected our society either as light or as salt enough for the change to take place. And as I listen to them, I you know, this might be very radical. I said to myself, how I wish that the ECWA president will one day climb the drum and contest an office, or the EYN president, or, you know why? This might seem laughable, but I just ask myself, which general ever wins a war leading from behind? We must lead from the front. The reason is that there are too many round pegs in square holes in this country. That's our problem. Nigeria is a place where we bench our first 11s and even second 11 and field our third 11, fourth 11s. So how will this change come about? Again, the I think it was the EYN's General Secretary that said that we need to mobilize our people and or was it the president of ERCC that said, are we really Christians or tribal Christians?
ERCC.
I mean, you can drive that even further and say, out of these 50 million people that we say are Christians, how many of them are believers? So when we say Christians are occupying positions, have we really had many Christians, in technically speaking, occupy political positions in Nigeria? If the answer is no, and I think it is no, no wonder we haven't seen the change that we expect. So, coming back to your question now, whether there is anything wrong in sponsoring, producing a candidate that we all rally around, I don't think there is anything wrong. But how many of such candidates are you going to produce? But I think that we should work at being sure that those who go into politics are rooted in the church, are rooted in scriptures, are discipled, so that they can go with their faith into the offices that they will be elected into. I think this is what is missing. We have people who are just called by name, and the way we elect our people these days is, oh, you are not doing anything, you've graduated from school, you have a first degree, right, go for us. He might not even be very ready, he doesn't know anything about leadership, he's not even committed in the church, but because he has nothing doing. So I think we must go back to prepare our people for leadership. We must go back to prepare our people for leadership, so that whoever goes into leadership represents the name of Christ.
I wholeheartedly agree with you, but I'm going to push the same question to Reverend Joseph John Hayab. Sir, should we produce a candidate collectively as a denomination, as a united denomination?
I don't want to confuse our listeners. No story. Yes.
That's
we did that in 1987 in Kaduna. GS will remember when Sheikh Gumi, the father of the young Gumi today, publicly said that according to Islamic theology, he must never be ruled by a Christian. No, a woman. So simply put, the church went back and said, okay, if this country belongs to us, and someone is telling us that according to his faith, he cannot be ruled by a Christian or a woman, the church just went searching, and they found the late Reverend John Aboki, and they presented him. And we all rallied around that month, that year in 1987, and John Aboki from nowhere became the chairman of Kaduna local government. Then it was actually Kaduna local government, no Kaduna North, no Kaduna South. Then in the local ward where Gumi is residing, Grace Chechet came from nowhere and became also the councillor. So the church has done what I'm simply saying, sometimes when we overflock this whole thing, I like the composition because we need to let our children know that this whole theology that says that because it is difficult, it will be difficult for a rich man to enter the kingdom of God. It's just like a camel entering the eye of a needle. These are not exactly what they mean. Being blessed and being rich is scriptural. Holding political offices is Bible. Daniel and his team were in the house of the king. They influenced it. I like the way pastors put it today. Sometimes when you even get close to power, say, if you want to speak in church, they say, he better bring the siyasa and emancipate us, that we chase the siyasa away and continue to be slaves under people who do not even know what to do than to just share the national cake, because there are people out there in government who don't even know what to do. What they just wait for is the monthly allocation will come, and every weekend they have divided into 4. This weekend they will share this amount, next weekend they will share another amount, another weekend they will share another amount. By the time they are going to share the 4th weekend, another new allocation have come. They don't have one idea of what to do. And we have men. Let me a little bit say that, not that we really do not have people who are competent in church. We have a lot of them. They were just discouraged by this theology. And they are scared because we no longer accept them to talk in church. We no longer accept them to be elders in our church. We no longer accept them to speak or pray in church, because sometimes even prayer, if they want to pray, someone will say, I was in church last Sunday. The president will remember we were in special service last Sunday, and someone was asked to come and read the Bible. And someone near me said to me that, so they couldn't find anybody who would read the Bible except this man. And I was surprised. What do you mean?
Yeah.
What is wrong for the man to read the Bible? If him reading the Bible will help him to come out of the evil you think he's doing, because it's just an assumption. So I think what we do is, so yes sir, the church we have strong people. We have a lot of people today in church who are good. The fact that they just need that push and moral boost to say, look, you can do it for us. And the issue of these divisions and others, I think we've actually suffered enough that we don't need anybody to preach to us about
That's true.
closing our
That's
hands. We need to close our hands. For those who are watching us, please, if anybody comes and is telling you this man is Catholic, this man is Anglican, as long as he bears the name of Jesus Christ, let's go for him.
That's good. That's true. Vice President of ECWA, do you think collectively as a church we should produce a candidate?
Well, with what we are experiencing in this nation, I want to say categorically that it is high time we work towards that. I could remember recently I was out for a particular state, and they were facing with a kind of crisis, most especially on the issue of this chieftaincy. The kingmakers had their own choice, but the governor took his own decision just to favor his own people and his own religion. Well, during the service, I said it categorically that if we can all come together as Christians in this state, we can produce a governor. And unless we begin to take such steps, if indeed we want to overcome what we are passing through in this nation, I think it is high time. And majority of our leaders today, when it is time for their politics, they will want to rally around Christians. They will come to the camp, they will beg us to support them, and they will promise heaven and earth that getting there they are going to do this, they are going to do that. But believe me, you will discover that by the time they will get there, they will work contrary to the promises they've made. Recently, in one of the states, the issue of this hijab, when the governor, during the campaign, he came, he sat as if, don't look for any other person. But when he got there, he was doing contrary to all he promised. And to me, there is nothing bad. And we should, as leaders, begin to mobilize and educating our people, preparing them for 2023 by the special grace of God.
Well, I'm happy that this conversation is taking this direction, and I trust God that eventually we will come up with something at the end of this program. This is not just a show on TV, but this is a show that I believe by the grace of God will chart a new course for this country. ECWA president for Nigeria's president, as said by the General Secretary of ECWA. It has been declared.
Before we can reach that stage, so much needs to be done in terms of the constitution and articles of ECWA. But as it is now,
when you are finished as ECWA president, that's what we say. When you are a private citizen.
Personally, I think the position I occupy as ECWA president in terms of responsibility is much higher than the president of this country. So I don't think I will condescend to look for any position like that.
What a strategic way of saying
I can serve in an advisory capacity to our sons and daughters that are in government and give them the maximum support I can give spiritually and in many other ways. But I personally don't see myself condescending to look for the president of this country.
True.
No, but we have Christian leaders who have what it takes to look for that office.
Yes.
And let me tell you, if you understand the politics of Nigeria, because some of these things we say are also the result of what we are getting. If you can serve as an advisor to your member in the Nigerian political context, when you become an advisor, you become a yes sir to him. Now he looks at you as a father, and we're looking at you because we've seen you as a father in church. Then when you become a father to the nation, that respect continue. I think the example here is not you as Stephen Payne, but saying that as a leader of the church, because unless we show that example, church people will not want to go in because they are afraid. I'm thinking, if I go in, will my president ever trust me and see me as a trustworthy person? Okay, if the president himself say I can serve Nigeria, oh, that means you too can give yourself to serve Nigeria. I think that's just what illustration is meant to achieve. Not speaking to you as a person, as a name, but with time will come. You won't be president of ECWA forever. Then Nigerian is looking for a leader, and the words like how it came to Isaiah. Who shall I send? Who will go for me? We are saying that if you are fair, let's say, here I am, send me. But when you don't say it, you are asking that your member in Jos, that your member in Kaduna, that your member in Ilorin to also say, better just be an advisor.
Now, when I talk of being an advisor, I don't mean in an official capacity at all. I'm talking of being a spiritual father and supportive to any of our members, sons or daughters that is in government, not in an official capacity. But I think we've all agreed that we need to encourage our members to go into politics and to vie for offices at all levels. But it's true. What I said is really true. That for now, by our constitution's rules and regulations, ECWA pastors and even workers cannot go into partisan politics except they resign and then go into politics if they feel really called into it.
So I feel if the church is united in common defense against the enemy, we will make a headway even in the decision that this nation will take in 2023. And I think that decision starts with us. The northern part of Nigeria is the most chunky part of the nation, with about 27 states in it. And as God has willed it, we are the leaders, Christian leaders in this zone. And I think we have a mega say when it comes to the decision and the direction that this nation will move, except if we decide to shy away from it. But if we stand, we will do it. I know that it will not be easy, because even before its members, the leadership of the church. But I think it's not too late if we start looking at the things that are trending in the events and in Christianity. Is almost like somebody is deciding some way to silence the religion. And until we wake up and start deciding that people should be in prominent positions that can take decisions on behalf of the church, we will just keep praying without action. So with this, I also feel like a pastor just saying this right now, just remaining the white collar. Then I will just assume my responsibility as the pastor. And I'll take a quick break right now. And when we come back, we will continue the discussion and have the phone lines open, because I know people are itching. I've been seeing comments on social media. We cannot take this comment the way the conversation is heating up. But I'll take a quick break and I'll be right back. Thank you very much for staying tuned to Equa Television Africa. Happy independence once more, Nigerians. We are giving hope to Nigeria, and it's the first October show like we do every year on Equa Television. This is the religious segment. We still have our religious leaders, except for cooking that is missing, and God bless them wherever they are. And we have been looking at so many reasons why the things we should put together to make this nation what it is supposed to be once more. And this time around, in the next 10 minutes, we'll be opening the phone lines for you to call in and make your contribution. Please, when you call, stay away from your TV set. Listen to us from your phone. Stay away from your TV set when you call so that we can hear you, and you have 30 seconds when you call. There are issues ravaging Nigeria. We have the issues of that have become national concern. We have the national integrity. We have border encroachment. We have self-esteem. We have self-respect. People have stopped being patriotic to the nation. Rather, they will be patriotic to politicians and not be patriotic to the nation. How can we teach people, Equa Assistant General Secretary, how can we teach people about patriotism from the church? Because the church is where we are concerned with. Like the leader of ERCC said, we have a meeting once every week. So how can we start teaching people about patriotism from the church?
Thank you, Mr. Nakale, for this question. I think something has happened with morality in Nigeria entirely. It's like there's a moral collapse. I went to primary school in 1968 during the Civil War, and the rate of killing during the Civil War, there was respect for life than it is even today, even when there is no war. Now imagine people worshiping in church. Then they are targeted, isolated, and killed. Imagine the mass burials. I don't think this country has ever faced a situation where people are buried en masse like it is today. Imagine the kidnappings in school. I read somewhere that this year alone, over 1,200 students were kidnapped. And a 1-year-old child was kidnapped. As I'm talking to now, to the viewers now, not less than 200 students are in the hands of kidnappers. Now, how do you bring this to patriotism? When you are in the hands of kidnappers and you can't look on to anybody to help you. You are a child, you are in school, and there is nothing anywhere that you can get. During our time in secondary school, whether you were a commissioner, or you were a businessman, or you were a farmer, we all schooled together. And there was no segregation. We all served the same punishment. We all served the same teachers. Today, the child of a poor man doesn't school with the child of a rich person. They can't even meet anywhere. Today, drug addiction have taken toll of every society. Plateau State is predominantly Christian, but the statistics of our youth who are into drug addiction or substance abuse is beyond imagination. Somebody was reading some statistics. He said over about 42%, that's almost 50% of young people that are hopeless. Now, how do you expect discipline from someone who is under the influence of substances? How do you expect discipline from someone who doesn't know anybody? He has received no favor from anybody. I remember again, when we went to A level, we were under scholarship. So we can listen to people when they are talking to us. we expected good governance. And there were people who look at them like role models. Today, as a child, you don't even have a role model. You don't even have it. How do you go about it? A lot has been said on the politics of this country, and maybe let me say some few things that I think we need to really deal with as a church. There's a sickness in the church called neutrality. So many of the 50 million people that we have, if care is not taken, about 25 worship neutrality. And you cannot change something in Dambarwanka. No Christian can change a situation where he idolizes neutrality. Another disease that is killing us in the church is this thing called political appointment. You see, those who appoint our sons and daughters into offices are agents of indirect rule. They choose from us, among us, those that will not be effective. And they become our masters. Yes, his name is John. He's up there. But he's just John in name. No effect. In fact, they even use him to fight us more. And so, indiscipline is breeded much more. I'm just building on some of the things that have been said before I make my suggestion. There is this disease called political illiteracy. Election is not an event. It's a process. If the church sees it as a process and we begin to process these things that we're talking about, of working together, synergizing together, and say, okay, we want a Christian leader. Definitely, if you have a target, discipline will come. Sometimes, we see, as leaders, president, let me say this. If we know the importance of politicians, we will appreciate that political office is very, very important. You see, what a politician will do in one day, I think former cooking president said so. I forgot his name now. He said, what they will do in one day, 100 pastors cannot do it in 3 years. You see, when you change a decision for the betterment of the... look at what people like Daniel did in the Bible. They were able to change decisions. Nehemiah, they changed decisions. One decision that will change can change a whole country for life. So if there's opportunity that an equal president can rule this country for righteousness, for goodness, for discipline, let's embrace it. What is wrong if they elect you and you resign your appointment as equal president? We don't have problems with that. To instill discipline in the church, for me, for me,
for good reasons.
Yes, the issue of role models. The issue of role models is something that we need to bring into our educational system. The good thing is that we can do it because we now have church schools. If we want to, who are the role models that we have in when we're training children? I remember when I was in primary school, General Yakub Gaon came to Jos. He was head of state then. He was just passing, and he saw some children playing football. Then he dropped. He went there to play with them, and he took the position of a goalkeeper. Then one boy kicked the ball to the head of state, who is the goalkeeper, and he deliberately missed the ball. And the ball was celebrated. He scored a goal against the head of state. You know, imagine that kind of mentality that you grow with. You see, if we have children that can play with us, that can celebrate victory, that can see that we can have a breakthrough, I think things will change. If we have children that have a focus, if we work together, to deal with these issues of substance abuse, these issues of militancy, this issue of cultural revival. These are things that are dealing with us as a church. Because when you begin to revive culture because you want to defend yourself against the menace of insecurity, again you are instilling indiscipline into the church. These are things that we need to teach about. These are things that we need to bring the word of God into. And I pray that the Lord will help us.
All right. I have a question to the three presidents, and I just want you to, as quick as possible, answer. What do you think it will be if ECWA Television organizes a Christian summit for the politicians in ECWA, ERCC, EYN sometime next year? How would you support that, ECWA president?
Of course, we have done something similar just some 2 years ago. But the dimension about what you are proposing, which is very beautiful, is that it will be now interdenominational.
Yes, sir.
And it will be very excellent.
Will you give money? I think that's what is.
It's amazing. Anytime the General Secretary of ECWA thinks of me, he attaches money to it. But
I'm Baptist too.
all right.
Absolutely a welcome development. And I think even if it means some financial support, because I think this is where we always fail as a church. We feel things will just happen without commitment. Certainly, the church has to be committed financially to put up something like this. Of course, a lot of resources has gone into it.
The EE are aware.
Yeah, so I think it's a welcome development. And I think for us, most especially in the North, I again want to say, the ECWA Television is a platform. A platform that the church in the North must support and take advantage of.
No, I'm grateful with this comment.
I think in the same spirit, it is always said that the best time to plant a tree 10 years back, but another best time is today.
Now.
And I think this is a very welcome development. And probably taking it to next year will even be far, although we are a little bit, some few months to the end of the year. But this is something that has to be done and has to be pursued earnestly.
Because in my opinion, if we are talking about ECWA president becoming the president of Nigeria, it cannot be a it cannot be a 2023 thing. It has to be a plan for another time.
To make me president of Nigeria by fire, by force.
But okay, just 1 minute. We have people that have nursed this ambition for over 5-10 years against 2023, and they would likely go into politics, like the ECWA president said, blindly, or being pushed into it. Some people are saying, you are a graduate, come and represent us, without having any idea what politics or leadership is all about. So I think if we come up with a summit like this, we can be able to sieve out credible candidates from there, coming from our denominations. If and I am grateful to God, because ECWA as well as the other ministries are well structured. You have the DCCs, you have the GCC, you have the LCC, you have the LC, you have all of that. You have a local overseer that can tell you this is a man of integrity. You have a chairman of a district church council that can say this is a man without integrity. You have another. So I think if we come together collectively, not even the first thing that will do is to threaten the nation already. And I think it will be credible, not for ECWA Television, but for the leaders in the North, being in collaboration with the TV station, to be able to do something to achieve a remarkable feat like that. So, yeah.
Don't wait for all the denominations. Start with what you have. Others will join you. The reason why we've never make impact is because, these people are not here. When they think we've start with what you have and let it be now. When they hear it, then they will call for the second meeting. The second meeting, everyone will come. But for the first meeting, start with what is here.
Thank you very much.
And I hope also that our viewers understand the motive behind
The
all
rationale
of these
behind-
discussions. It's not that Christians want to do a crusade, like people will say, okay, they are now asking for their own people. But this is our own contribution to nation building.
Sure.
We believe that we have people who can contribute to nation building, to make Nigeria great or greater than it is today. So it's not all about promoting ourselves, our religion, but promoting nationhood and nation building.
This is the time where we have to involve the audience out there. I'm giving them 40 minutes before the end of the show. So we will involve the audience right now. I'll take a quick break, and when we return, the phone lines will be open. If you have a valid contribution towards what we have been saying all the while, please call in. If you don't have, post your comment on Facebook, YouTube. The show is live on satellite, is also live on YouTube and on Facebook, and we have international communities watching as well. So we would take a quick break, and when we return, the phone lines will be open. Thank you very much. Let's take a quick break. Yeah, before we took the break, our religious leaders already agreed to the proposal that I made, that we are doing an international Christian summit for our politicians sometime early next year. They didn't say in Abuja, but Abuja is central, and I'm announcing that it's going to hold in Abuja. So the phone lines are open. Let me have the phone number on the screen so that people can start calling. I have a lot of comments. I can see comments scrolling in on Facebook. I cannot take all of these comments as I have about 40 minutes to round the show off. So the phone line should be open. Please, I don't need you to pick the call. Just pick the call directly and patch us through. Let's not go through the whole protocol of asking questions. So let's just pick the calls and we just continue. We are looking at our contribution to nation building and the burden of insecurity, and we made a preamble from the ECWA president all the way down to the Khan chairman of Kaduna State, and we have seen how that insurgency has dealt with our denominations. EYN has about 15 district church council, that 50 that was wiped away, right, by insurgency, and 43. And you can see how that has really crushed the church in that part of the nation. ECWA as well, ERCC as well, Baptist as well, and we cannot stop where these things are stopping. We have to take a notch further. We have to act as religious leaders to put an end to this sorrow, because every day people wake up to moment of tears in Nigeria. If you are not in Nigeria, you will not understand what is happening. People don't want to watch the news. People don't want to read the newspaper because it's one bad news after the other. When you see a phone call from a pastor, you are waiting to hear what else has happened. So we want to wake up to a Nigeria where you can comfortably live anywhere you are and settle wherever. And the movement will start from these gentlemen in this room from next year. I want you to watch out for this space, and I thank the ERCC president for this great hype for ECWA television. I think ECWA television is doing great in for him to be able to make this comment. So Reverend Hayab, recently you've had issues with the Baptist school. What is the update from that school, briefly, before we start taking calls?
Well, the update is that they picked 121. So far, 110 have returned. We have 11 more, but in the 11, we have 10 students and 1 nanny. So we have 11 with the bandits. It's been a very terrible experience because we keep paying money, buying motorcycles, providing food, canopies for them in the bush. And we still ask ourselves this question. We have a government, and these people are demanding these things every day from us, and no one has been able to put them on the run to even say they were escaping from Nigeria and allow our children to come back. Our children this year missed their NECO and WAEC exams. Those group of students did not write. WAEC has given an opening that, okay, if they all come back, they can make them external students to write November, December. We are hoping NECO may do something, but at the moment, they lost the internal exams, both NECO and WAEC.
Reverend Madu, you have been doing something with the CSW. It's called Song for Freedom. Would you want to say something in just 30 seconds about that?
Well, it's our U.S. office that is planning. It's a campaign for freedom for school children, and to hype the advocacy for, and to bring to the front burner of the generality of the world the fact that there is no safe haven for education and school children, especially in Nigeria.
Okay, ECWA President, quickly, what are we doing with ECWA Relief Foundation?
So much has been happening through ECWA Relief Foundation. We've been able to reach out with emergency relief materials for those that were affected by crisis. And we try to do that across denominational lines, not just for ECWA members, victims alone. One thing we've discovered is that there is this obvious motive of the Hadas militia to displace the people permanently and to take over their land, their ancestral land. So we have used a lot of our relief to support the rebuilding of the residences, destroyed residences, houses, and so on of the victims, so that as soon as security improves, they will be able to go back to their houses. Because if they are not helped with the rebuilding of their houses, what will happen is that they will simply not have enough resources to rebuild their houses that they can go back in, and then the places will be left desolate, and the Hadas militia will now go and take over and live. And we have cases like that in parts of Plateau and Kaduna where this has happened. So I will also call on all those that are helping out with the IDPs and so on to really consider giving assistance in that respect. It's good to provide the immediate needs of the people, the food, beddings, and so on. But beyond that, I think as a church, we need to really mobilize resources to ensure that we can rebuild the communities again to a large extent, so that the people will not be permanently displaced.
ERCC, do we have the statistics of ERCC members who have registered for the coming elections in Nigeria?
Not yet.
Okay. EYN, do we have?
Not at the moment.
Not at the moment. ECWA, do we have?
No church has.
Yes. Okay, is that not an issue of importance? Shouldn't we know?
Well, yeah, we should, but you know, what churches do is to encourage each LCB, in our case it's called LCB, or the local church, which is a general name, is to encourage people to register. In fact, some pastors come up with very novel idea of saying, if you are not registered, you not take the Holy Communion, or you present the Holy Communion card. I mean, you present the registration card before you take Holy Communion. You know, so I think.
Hello.
Yeah, hello, good day. Welcome to the show.
Well, what? The program is going on fine, but we cannot see.
Sorry, say that again.
They cannot see.
They can't see. They cannot see.
We can't hear you. What did you say?
I say the program is going on fine, but the vision is not clear. The vision is not clear.
What is he using?
Okay.
platform?
What are you using to watch?
Kafanchan.
Okay, we
Television, Facebook.
Are you watching on Facebook or on TV?
No, on the TV.
Okay, I think it's from your end because we can see it very clear and we're watching from satellite as well.
Okay.
Do you have a contribution for the show today?
No, no.
Okay, thank you very much for calling.
So like I was saying, just to round up, I think the register is better kept at the local churches. They will know the number of their members that have registered, because then they can pursue it.
Just like you said, some pastors deny Holy Communion to people who have not registered.
Well, I'm not sure if they deny, but they encourage people.
Okay, so what should we do? Because we have other religions, I don't want to mention, who make sure people, even people under age, go out to register. Okay. Yeah, hello, welcome to the show. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Okay, I'm calling from Ebonyi.
Okay, how are you doing? How is Ebonyi today?
Ebonyi is okay.
Make your contribution quickly.
Okay, for the president of ECOWAS, I heard his speech this morning, and I want to suggest that what he is saying is wrong by saying that he will, push Christians into politics. That means that he is not a real a Christianity.
Okay, so who should go into politics, sir?
Well, if I were to say, you know the God you are serving, suppose not to put yourself in politics. Just be praying God to give you the strength and the knowledge in order to control the Nigeria.
Okay, thank you very much. I didn't quite clearly get what he's saying, but I think he's advising ECWA president not to go into politics.
No.
To push people
and then refuse to go.
Okay.
That's
So
the point he's trying
if
to
the
make.
ECWA president is pushing people, he
Why
should
not
also
him?
go.
wrong to
I
say
think
he
our vote,
I think I'm in trouble today because people. Seriously speaking, I think it's just what has been said, that people of greater integrity are needed to go into politics. But having said that, we have to understand our own constituency as it is now. For most of us evangelical churches, our guidelines are that if you want to go into politics, you resign. Let's say that I don't have the calling to go into politics yet.
even when your votes are growing already.
That's a better one.
I think you were in the middle of a conversation. You are okay. So we are encouraging members to go out and register. The registration is ongoing, and if you are a pastor, please encourage members in your church to go out and register. If you have a contribution, the phone line is open.
I think, Tony, one thing that we can do to be pragmatic about this is that local church pastors should get some young people who are very knowledgeable with the computer and station them so that they can do online registration for people. There are many of our members who are not very proficient with the computer, but there are these boys and they can have some stipends for them.
Yeah. We have raised that suggestion on several shows on ECWA television, and we encourage churches to do that. Hello, where are you calling from and what's your name?
I'm John Amada Kishama from birthday in Jama local government.
Okay, thank you for calling. What's your contribution?
Yes, what I have is there is need for us to educate our members, because the Bible says when the righteous are on throne, people rejoice. If Christians will not put our heads into politics and salvage the country, they will continue to be crying and weeping, and the solution will not come. I love the program. I love it. I love it.
That's good.
God bless you people.
Thank you very much. I think the producer of this show is making a mistake. People are loving this program and our account number is not on the screen. And I'm wondering why. So the General Secretary was in the middle of a conversation.
Oh, yeah, no, I made my point that church pastors should encourage young people that are computer literate to register members. You know, station 1 or 2 laptops in the church so that when people come to church, they can quickly register online to get more people register.
And also,
Please, while he makes his point, please take me to the comment section on Facebook from the top. Let me see how many I can take after his comment.
yeah, there is this lukewarmness among us Christians, especially those of us who are evangelicals, who want to do things at the last minute. If they say they give deadline now, you see people will be rushing, and then not all will be able to meet us with the deadline. So I really recommend what the ECWA General Secretary have said, that local church pastors should take responsibility for their members. It's our responsibility to prepare them for heaven. It's also our responsibility to prepare them to be good citizens of this country, people that have a say. Because unless these things are done, the voice of the church has been dealt with. And we shouldn't be part of the problem that's bedeviling this nation and the church. We have a responsibility to Nigeria. We have a responsibility to this country to be peaceful, to be loving, to be God-fearing. Now, if we abandon all these tools, we will be in the ECWA devotional. We read about Nehemiah yesterday. He was leaving to Jerusalem. He had to collect letters. Those letters may not even seem important, but in this world, any document that you need to be effective, we should do it. Let's not joke with some of these little things. They are very, very important. And as a church, we cannot just die ourselves. We need to really wake up and do what is right and excellent.
Okay, let me read some of the comments. I have Matthias Dauda Micah. He said, I'm watching from Kafanchan. I have Randy Mani Gideon Arandi. May God help us through his spirit to learn how to take away this denominational thought. Yeah, and I think it's the same person that is commenting again. In every journey, there must be a bus stop. So definitely the journey of bad governance must end, and we now await a better nation from a better citizen. And we have Daniel, I think it's Shadrach. He says, when a Muslim gets to power, he furthers the cause of his faith. He spends for his faith. But when a Christian gets to power, he furthers the cost of his kid. I think it's kid and kin. These are just the comments I can take. Okay, I have comments from YouTube too. Lord, we hand over Nigeria. I'm sure he's trying to say to you at 61. And then we have the church leaders must lead by example. Yes, sir. I don't know who is yes, sir into. Jonah Sharma says, as church leaders, we must educate our members concerning politics. It is very, very important. When we get back to various offices, we should encourage pastors. I know we are always guided by constitution, but we should always encourage pastors. Truly, there are issues that because the world is evolving, there are issues that because a constitution says no, we can not refuse to deal with them because of constitution. Some of these things are evolving, so we have to, pay attention and mind to it. Now, sir, let me ask the ECWA president, what modalities should we put together so that this kind of meetings would not be seasonal?
You know, which meetings is it?
Yeah,
this,
the religious, different religious
one?
leaders,
Yeah.
not necessarily on Equa TV, but let's continue having such meetings towards this cause.
Well, there are a lot of new technologies that have come up, which have served to really bring people together without necessarily being in person. The Zoom meeting technology, I think, is the most popular now, where people can always meet from time to time. But also, WhatsApp platform is also good, and the advantage for that is that people can respond at their convenience, unlike the Zoom meeting where you have to be online at a particular time. So it's good to encourage such platforms, but we must still do in-person meetings from time to time. And like the ERCC president said, if we are going to be doing in-person meetings, we must be ready to commit resources to doing that. But it will be worth it if some of these unnecessary denominational barriers are to fizzle out and enable us to be able to come together and begin to have a different mindset altogether in terms of approach to politics as first and foremost Christians, rather than being Baptist Christians, being ERCC Christian, be EYN Christian. Let us be Christians that happen to belong to ERCC, to Baptist, to EYN and the rest. I think it's a very, very important idea. If the mindset has to change, we just have to have this kind of interdenominational forums more and more taking place.
Yeah, so I think that, taking a cue from what you've just said, the Directorate for National Issues and Social Welfare in CAN is in the best position to convey this kind of meeting, because part of their mandate is this kind of things that we are discussing. So I would think that if they convey such assembly or meetings, it will be easier, to buy into it than, if Equa president conveys it, we will think that is because he wants to be president of Nigeria.
And truly what he said, as since you are privileged to be a member of PIC, I think one of the challenge this person is they over-centralize this conversation in Abuja.
Yeah.
As if Nigeria is Abuja. Nigeria is far, far bigger, wider than Abuja. Can they localize this conversation?
Zonal conferences.
To different fora.
Yeah.
Then you see within a short time this message. And again in Nigeria, I do agree and I like printing. But you know very much about the statistics of educated and those who read in Nigeria. Then you have to find a way of reaching them with information than focusing on printing of publications that just still end in one store and people don't have access to it. We did talk about Facebook, WhatsApp, Telegram and others, which are very important. But experience have shown me that there are larger Nigerians, and especially our followers, who don't even belong to all this. The fact that even most of the WhatsApp groups are more of the elitist groups where they still speak grammar. But the real man who needs that voting card, who needs that message, is out there. So what do we do when we have a DCC convention, the Women Fellowship meeting, Men's Missionary Union program, or the Boys Brigade, and so on and so forth? Now it's not just an Equa thing or a Baptist thing. A Christian leader coming not from Equa for such a meeting and speak to the people about things like this. Wait a minute. And once it's finished, then the Equa DCC chairman or president or whatever title, the person now comes up to say, you've heard from him. This is what I've been telling you. This exchange of information can stir up, hey, something is happening. But you know, if you still speak as he said, if I understand him, still speak as Equa, and I still speak as Baptist, and I still speak as EYN or ESCC, but someone out there is coming to speak. So can we find a way of pushing this Department of National Issues to go beyond just a name department?
They are not functioning
into function. We may not change it for 2023, but we can consolidate.
We can begin
and start something so that in 2023 we show people where we are. Then we will continue with that process till 2026.
Wonderful. I have just 5 minutes to round up the show, so I'll take 1 minute from each speaker. I would start from Reverend Hayab, then I'll finish with the Equa president. So 1 minute, please. Well, just 30 seconds.
I think what I just need to say is first thank the Equa TV for a great job and tell you keep this up because we need it. Media is a tool for fighting anything and educating people. And God has given the church through the Equa TV. We love you and we'll continue to identify with you.
Thank you very much.
I will summarize by saying that the situation in Nigeria today cannot be tolerated. The church cannot be aloof. The church cannot be silent. The church must rise up to its responsibility. The church must be positive. The church cannot afford to be neutral. The church must move forward. And surely God will be with us. Thank you.
The journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. And I believe that we've just begun something that it's bigger than those of us in this room. And I wish us all the best.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I want to say that we should continue to pray for Nigeria. We thank God for this program. And the issue of insecurity, I plead with the government that they should keep on. People are living under fear. They are not sure of what will happen, even before the day runs out. And we look unto God. We are expecting much from them. We appreciate Equa TV for organizing this program. May God continue to lift you up in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Amen.
Well, I join all my colleagues also to appreciate Equa TV Africa and of course the Equa president and all of us. My call, and I want to end it by saying that as we voice out on behalf of the voiceless, on behalf of the victims of all these atrocities that are not being heard, I call on the government to also be a listening government and to look at us that we are not just criticizing, we are contributing to nation building, and we want a nation that will be a nation full of peace, where peace will be seen, and there will not be peace unless there is justice. Of course, the church is crying, the church is bleeding, and our members are crying, our members are bleeding. Like in EYN, we said we are the wounded healer because we are in the process of rebuilding, and there's no compensation from the government, there's no nothing. Our disaster relief ministry is doing just as Equa is doing. We thank God for Equa for partnering with us for support and some other denominations. But I think my call is this, that as denominational heads, it is high time now that we will come out, not only to speak, but to carry our members along and to say that these atrocities have to stop for a better nation. Thank you.
Yes,
just as this program is captured, we cannot afford to write the second lamentation. There is hope for our country, and the Lord will surely deliver this country.
Amen.
Thank you.
Equa president.
Well, I want to just round up by congratulating you for the initiative to bring up such an interdenominational forum, which is very, very powerful. I pray that you will also develop similar programs to cover other aspects too. We need to break down these denominational barriers as much as possible, and hopefully to and believing God that in at the lower level will be able to interact much more and develop a more cohesive force, politically, but in other areas of cooperation, so that the church will be able to be more impactful than it has been, which is a result of too much emphasis on our denominations rather than our oneness in Christ. So to Nigeria, I say congratulations for the 61st year anniversary celebration, and our hope remains in God. In God we trust.
I'd like to thank all of you for coming all the way from Adamawa, Nasarawa State, Abuja, all the way from Kaduna State. I am very grateful, Reverend Hayab, for finding time to be here, and the cooking president who couldn't be here, and the EYN president who couldn't be here because of exigencies of office. We pray that next time when we call for such a meeting, the Lord will give you the enablement to attend. We are very, very grateful. We have comments on Facebook that I cannot take. Someone is watching from Sierra Leone and he's making comments. So I would encourage my religious leaders, if you're on Facebook, just log into @Equa Television and you can be able to respond to some of these comments, the ones that concern you. Like I would always say, rounding up every show, I'd like to thank the Equa executive for giving us the opportunity to do this on Equa Television Africa. I'd like to thank every Equa Television staff who has had sleepless nights to put this show together. God bless you wherever you are. And we are grateful to all Equa Television Africa supporters globally for supporting us and keeping us on air. God bless you. We are reaching the world with the gospel of Christ. And if you mistake this for anything else beside the gospel, I think you should have a rethink, because this is also the gospel personified, if you allow me. Thank you very much for watching. We have a lot other shows that are coming up all the way to 8 p.m. We have brand new live shows till 8 o'clock at night. Keep watching Equa Television Africa. We will see you when we see you. Don't forget, please be kind to one another. God bless you. Bye-bye.